Hello, hello, hello. It's the O Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, CW. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to hit that bell on YouTube and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcasting app. Today, let's take 10 minutes and try to decipher what exactly is the Jimmy Uso story going on right now. Because I'm lost. I don't understand it. So let's rewind back to before the Bloodline fell completely apart, where Jimmy and Jay were brothers in arms, and they had just lost the titles, and Roman was dressing them down. And I think it was when Jay Uso was starting to, show signs that he was going to leave, and Roman made mention that Jimmy was supposed to be the guy, right? I believe that did happen. Roman said, in a way to gaslight Jay, that Jimmy was supposed to be the main event Jimmy Uso or something like that. And then Jay, did his whole I'm conflicted thing, and he left. And Jimmy was still being sort of, on the outs with the group, and I'm trying to piece this stuff together. And then Jay said that I was gonna say famous line. It's not famous, but he said, "Well, guess what? You out the Bloodline." And everyone went, "Oh!" And then he said, "And I'm out too." And he kicked Roman, and that split the Usos out from the Bloodline, which led to the tag match between the Usos versus Solo and Roman, which led to Jay pinning Roman for the Roman being pinned for the first time by Jay. And that was a big thing. And then they were trying to rope them back into the Bloodline, and then Jay went after Roman in an attempt to win the Tribal Chief title from him. And during that match, Jimmy came out, cost Jay the match, and then Roman prevailed. The next time they were all there, Roman called out Jimmy and said, "What do you want, car or house or this or that? We can make that happen, blah, blah, blah." And Jimmy said, "This ain't about you, Oos. This is about my brother." And he said he did it because the tribal chief, just being the tribal chief, corrupts absolutely. The great power corrupts absolutely, and he didn't want to lose his brother to that power. He didn't want him to be enticed by the energies of the tribal chiefdom. And Jay said, "Nah, you crazy, and Solo's crazy, and so's Roman, and F all this. I'm out, ooses, deuces." Kicked everybody in the face, left. Then we had some weird weeks of wrestling, and then we returned, and Jimmy said, "I don't care what you all think. I'll do whatever I can to protect my brother. I love my brother." And then he had this odd change of heart, and now he's back in the Bloodline, trying his best to get back up with Solo, his little brother. And I don't get the trajectory. I understand that they want Jimmy to be a heel. I get that. They want him to be the opposite of Jay, right? They want Jay to be the big man on Raw, the big baby face, number 3 baby face, I think. Cody, and then Seth, and then Jay, I would assume. That's kind of the breakdown. And then they want Jimmy up there with the heels, because we don't have Roman on a week-to-week basis. So they want Jimmy to kind of not fill that role, but have that major Bloodline presence that can, cut a promo and whatnot. That's my guess. My problem is that I don't understand where this change of heart came from. I kind of understood, not even kind of, I understood where they were going with the Jimmy didn't want his brother to win, so he wouldn't become tribal chief, so he would not become like Roman, basically. And Jay's whole thing is, well, you didn't have faith in me that I wouldn't become, evil. And you turned on me, and that sucks, and I'm tired of all this back and forth, so I'm leaving. And that made sense. And him showing up on Raw was great. You have Jay there, Jimmy on SmackDown. They can have their singles careers for the first time. Perfect. But having Jimmy turn into this weird, I was going to use the word sniveling, but he's not sniveling. He's more boisterous and conniving, where he started out with the best of intentions, but now he's trying to not even weasel his way back in, pretend like he was always still part of the bloodline. I don't get the trajectory. Now, let's put everything in perspective. Professional wrestling is weird, and things change from time to time, and angles change. And some people are like, okay, we were going this route. We don't think there's a lot of legs to this, so let's switch it up. And I think that's what happened. I think they saw Jimmy as being too sympathetic of a character, and they needed to make him legit a heel, and which I think should have been from the start. If you wanted to do that, they could have just done the age-old thing, which I think would have still worked with, he pulls his brother out, his brother gets cost the match, he super kicks Jay, and then him and Roman stand tall as, the new Usos or whatever the case may be. We were working against you the whole time for whatever reason. But instead, they tried to make it so that he's like, I did it for you. I did it for The Rock kind of thing. I did the bad thing for you because I wanted you to succeed. But now Jay really is moving into this whole different character where he's trying to assume the role of tribal chief by proxy. Because Roman's not around, he's just doing things that wouldn't necessarily have to go through Roman, which is an interesting angle, where he's like, oh, he's not here. I'm thinking this is what's happening. He's trying to assume power through the vacuum that has been created with Jay leaving and Roman being extremely part-time, which is great. But again, I'm lost because the story is so long, right? There's so much to this bloodline story. It's hard to reconcile where Jimmy was a couple of weeks ago to where, or I should say month and a half ago to now. There hasn't been a reason for him to want to get back in the bloodline. He was the one shouting the most that they should. Well, nope, that's not true either. He was the one trying to keep the peace. There you go. He was trying to keep the peace between Jay and everybody else. He was trying to keep the peace between them and Sammy. He was trying to keep the peace when Sammy turned on him. He was trying to keep the peace when Roman had a problem with Jay. And even up to the point where they were trying to kick him out, he was still trying to say, we're a family, whatever. But now it really is like he's just a heel, a crap heel. I was going to use the other word. But yeah, I needed this time to just decipher this with you, right? Because I'm lost and I don't know where this is going. Again, it's the bloodline, so it's going to last forever. But I didn't know where this was going. And after SmackDown this week, with Solo and Jimmy standing tall as, the ones, is he just now back in a tag team? If that's the case, please don't do that. Just let him be a solo wrestler for a little bit. Anyway, what do you guys think of the Jimmy Uso turn? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for listening. This has been the O Wrestling Podcast, and don't you ever forget,
I'm your friend, but if I ever see you in the ring, I can beat you. Don't you know? Yeah.